John Murray?
The guy who got really beat up by Brandon Rios from England.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
His brother Joe Murray is fighting today.
Oh really?
England versus a very good.
This is in Britain.
Yeah, there's a Eddie Hearn's Next Generation card.
What's up, Leo?
And we got Lewis Ritson as the headliner. He's a prospect out of England. He can fight. Lewis Ritson.
Really? What weight class is he?
He's fighting Joe Murray. God, these guys are probably he knocked up. I want to say 135 probably. I could be wrong though.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a good fighter, Ritson. What you looking for, little man?
What's up, Leo?
What's happening? What's happening? What you thinking?
You got a good head of hair, huh?
Yeah, it's almost time for a haircut.
Mop.
I think.
Yeah, he's the mop top.
Yeah.
That's right, buddy.
What's happening, Leo? Oh, Daddy.
Yeah,
oh,
me
Daddy.
All right.
All right, Coach. You got some.
Hey,
you
Mike
got
Brown.
some.
I do have some.
Jim Boone. Oh yeah, that's not Jim. That's Mike. Yeah.
Wow,
Trivia's not my forte.
So I
And we'll talk
have,
boxing.
last week after we left, I said, well, Doug, you had this one question I didn't ask because it's too tough, and I don't want to embarrass you.
Krostowski says Dalakian looked like Prince Hamed at times. You know, there was a fighter named Artur Grigorian. You remember him, the WBO lightweight
I do.
title holder? He kind of reminded me of Grigorian.
Yeah.
He reigned for a long time.
Yeah.
Lost to Acelino Freitas.
Yes, that's the guy.
Yeah. That's who Dalakian reminded me of. I mean that as a compliment, of course.
So, Coach, you got some questions for Doug? You want me to grab
You wanna
you?
hold it? Yeah, he's got his hands
Cool
full.
with it, Mike?
Yeah, Mike's good.
Awesome.
Mike's good with the questions
No,
too.
I saw the week you guys did.
He
He's
gives
very
them-
Okay, so I'm going to give you some.
He calls them on their BS too. I like that.
I'm going to start off with some birthdays.
Uh oh.
So, Mike, you can get in on this too.
I'll give it a
JP.
try. I'll give it a try.
Okay. So, Jimmy Ellis.
The heavyweight.
Jimmy Ellis. He's passed away, right?
I think he did.
Yeah, he passed
he
away.
did.
Yeah, former WBA heavyweight title holder. Started at middleweight. Stablemate of Muhammad Ali. He was out of the Louisville, Kentucky area. They were buddies. Also trained by Angelo Dundee.
Can I add a little piece of trivia on that
Yes,
one?
sure.
So, you know who he fought for the WBA title.
That was Jerry Query?
Do you know what injury Jerry Quarry had for that fight?
No, going into the fight or during the
Going into the fight.
No.
He had a broken vertebrae in his back
Wow.
from wrestling with his older brother, Jimmy.
Wow.
Unbelievable. And fought the fight.
Yeah.
Old school fighter.
Wasn't one of his better fights, that's
Yeah.
for sure, but
Sure.
pretty impressive.
Unbelievable.
I was at Jerry Quarry's first fight.
Wow.
In LA?
And
Yeah,
Doug,
it
we've got
was
a question for you.
Yeah.
Ask Doug what he thought about Caleb Smith's fight.
Oh, yeah, right. Yesterday, Callum versus Nikki Holskin. Did you see the fight? Or were you-
No, I missed that fight. Yeah, because I had to get ready for Superfly while it was going on.
So Callum's going to fight George Groves now.
I knew that the former kickboxer was tough though.
That guy's
He's got good technique, good foundation
Yes.
for a Muay Thai K1
Yeah,
glory
I'll
kickboxing.
be curious to see your
style,
opinion
yeah.
on it because Callum Smith won the fight, but he got touched up.
Yeah, and people are kind of down on Callum Smith now. Everybody's favoring George Groves
Well, the
when that
bookies
happens.
have it close, but I'd have to favor Groves, seeing their performances, because
Yeah.
Callum.
Uh-oh, there goes
There he
Leonardo.
goes. Callum was getting hit late in that fight.
Wow, okay.
Good jab though, Callum.
Okay,
All right.
so how old is Jimmy? Would Jimmy Ellis be?
Jimmy Ellis, he fought he was
So-
a contender in the 60s.
What year was Muhammad Ali born? How old would he be?
That's a good
I
question.
think he's
He-
probably
Muhammad
in his
Ali
late
in the 70s, yeah.
And Jimmy Ellis was maybe a year or two older than Muhammad Ali.
Jimmy
if I
Ellis was
remember
older than
correctly.
Ali, is that correct? So I'm going to say Jimmy Ellis would be, I'm going to say 78.
By the way, we had a great fights last night. Comment, that's a bit of an understatement,
Yeah.
I'd say, but we were all pretty high on last night.
Yeah, no, that was quality.
Okay,
boxing.
Dougie.
Yeah.
78.
78, yeah!
That's good.
What was the question you were talking about that I answered off
I
camera?
asked you
I don't
about,
remember.
it was about Mondo Ramos winning the title.
Right.
Versus the guy from Spain.
Yeah, the guy from
You
Spain,
knew the whole
right.
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew the guy's name, Pedro Carrasco or something.
Yeah.
So you knew that. The whole thing, I didn't think you'd get it.
He won. That's when he won the lightweight title, and he was the youngest
Right, yeah.
lightweight title holder ever at the time.
he
I think he was
was, yeah.
21.
Yeah, he was young.
Yeah.
Sam Pedro boy.
Yeah, and would not have a big much of a shelf life because he was living that life.
No, he was. And he was
Boy, was he popular though.
He was. He
Yeah.
was good. He was really good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got which punch was better, Martinez versus Williams or Marquez versus Pacquiao?
That's a great
Ooh,
question.
That is a
Marquez
terrific
versus
That's
Pacquiao,
a great question.
but that Williams, see, they both went out face first. The Martinez Williams rematch, one hitter quitter. I think that, I mean, to me that was more dramatic. If you don't know who these boxers are, just because of how tall Paul Williams is and the way he just fell flat on his face, and that crazy ref just went ahead and counted 10.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have rolled him over, taken the mouthpiece in, and immediately got a stretcher in there. You know what I mean? But he had the full 10 count there. But because of Pacquiao's his stature in the sport and the stature of Juan Manuel Marquez and their rivalry and just how big of an event that was, that fight's going to be remembered more. That's the more famous one-hitter quitter. But they're both right up there.
And we've got a question, or
Breathtaking
not a question,
knockouts.
but a comment that I want to get in before it fades from my memory.
Yeah, right.
And that is that Coach is wearing the shirt of the week today.
Isn't that great? That's good. Yeah. I have one of those too. It's
Okay, I got
a
one
very
here.
limited collection right there.
Okay, can you wear it?
What was that?
Can you wear it?
Yeah, I can wear it. Yeah. What do you mean, like a golden boy? Yeah.
Yeah.
They love Tom. Tom gets along with everybody.
Okay, so
Maybe not team Canelo. If I wear, if I visit Canelo's camp and I'm wearing that, to kind of be
You
like,
know, I was reading some comments, and we're blaming the judges on that fight, but this guy was blaming on the ref, and I didn't. He kept warning Triple G that whole fight about hitting in the body behind his back.
really?
But the ref kept warning Triple G, but Canelo kept churning. on him.
Right. Huh.
So he was the one that was sort of getting that going, and he felt that he might have intimidated Triple G a little bit, the
Oh.
ref, because he was on his case, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Did you? The
I
ref was.
I don't even remember who the referee
No, the
was.
ref is the Mayweather ref.
Oh, was it
Kenny
Kenny
Bayless?
Bayless?
Kenny Bayless, which and the thing is, I used to love Kenny Bayless. I thought he
Yeah.
was really good,
Yeah.
but he's a homer.
Yeah.
He's a total homer, and that all makes sense.
Listen,
I'm going to watch that fight over again.
Yeah, you just can't trust Vegas, man. you just
Well, you
can't.
can't trust anyone in Vegas.
No, it's just
Nobody.
such a hustle town.
Okay, I got a couple of
It's-
questions that I want to catch up on a little bit. One of them you can answer as two guys at once.
Yeah.
So what's next for Lucas Matisse and what's next for Alexander Povetkin?
I don't know.
Matisse's
returning.
David Price
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Povetkin's fighting Price
next week. Yeah, on the Joshua undercard.
Oh, it's the Joshua undercard.
That'll be a
okay.
knockout.
Yeah, no. So that's March 31st.
Yeah. I don't know about Matisse.
In Wales.
That's next.
Well, Matisse is coming back. Go to ringtv.com. There's a story up there about Matisse's return. He doesn't have an opponent though, but he is definitely coming back in a couple months. Yeah.
Your thoughts on Jamal Charlo? Think he
Well,
would fight Jacobs or
That's
faded
what
away.
should happen. He should fight Jacobs. I mean, Jacobs should be fighting real middleweight contenders.
That's
I think that'd
tough
be
one with
a
television.
that'd be an
I know,
attractive fight.
That's the
TV
problem
makes it
because of
not
the TV. Yeah, because one guy's aligned with Showtime, and that's
And one guy
Charlo.
just went to HBO. So how's
Yeah,
that
and the
gonna
other
make-
guy's aligned with HBO, and that's Jacobs. Yeah. Charlo needs a fight though. Hugo Centeno Jr. Pulled out. I think they were supposed to fight this Saturday.
Yeah.
In Brooklyn.
Oh, he pulled out?
Yeah, Centeno had a rib injury. Yeah, sparring injury, so he's out of that fight. But Charlo needs to fight. He needs to fight somebody.
Okay, I have a couple more birthdays here.
Okay.
Okay, so Jim, you can
I'll try.
tune in on this too. So first one we did was Jimmy Ellis,
I doubt
and
it.
78. He would have been 78.
would have been
he's still
70.
alive.
Okay, how about this one?
And by the way, if Jimmy Ellis is alive and I'm wrong about, I'm sorry. Sometimes you get mixed up.
I just did that.
I know.
I just did it with Jerry Hoffman. I had heard he had died.
Yeah.
I told Dougie, and then I get a phone call. It's Jerry Hoffman.
Yeah, aren't you glad you didn't say anything on
Yeah,
Periscope?
and I went through the same thing with Jack Fisk.
Oh
I
man.
heard he had died, and then I got a phone call. It's him.
Yeah. One of the great boxing scribes.
It's
right
really
there.
so. Okay, here's one that might be a little tough. Rock Newman.
Rock Newman?
Oh.
I'm gonna say Rock Newman. I'm gonna say Rock Newman is if he's not 70, he's approaching 70. I'm gonna say Rock Newman is 68.
You know Rock Newman? Okay.
And if he's not 60, maybe I'm gonna say like between 66, 68, right around that range.
66. Wow. That is.
How about
Feeding
that?
him the questions.
Does anyone know who Rock Newman is?
I don't.
Riddick Bowe's manager.
Yeah, I am.
I mean,
He's
you could
Riddick
even-
Bowe's manager and
Yeah.
promoter.
Yeah.
Hey.
Spencer Promotions.
If you could even know that is crazy.
How about that?
That is-
How about that?
You better
Rock
go to the-
Newman.
You should go from here to the racetrack. Okay, I give you this one, and I know you can get this one. Tony Lopez.
Oh, Tony the Tiger out of Sacramento, former junior lightweight champ. Yeah. Boy, what funny. Freaking Tiger. Let's see.
So I had a request for talking Jack versus Steven.
Yeah, what about
Stevenson?
my pick? I like Badu Jack in that fight.
Badu
That's
Jack
dangerous.
is the underdog.
He's the underdog.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's a good fight.
What's your pick?
Well, Badu's won me money several times as an underdog. I wouldn't bet Stevenson at a big price. Chin
Yeah.
thing. But Badu was the underdog versus,
Groves, probably.
yes, and Darrell.
And Jarrell, yeah.
Yeah.
He gets better and better.
No, he's a good fighter.
He's a
like-
complete fighter, but Stevenson is a dangerous boxer puncher. But see, here's my thing. Stevenson has been spoon-fed for so long. It's been such a long time since he's been in a tough fight. And Stevenson's also one of these guys. He's a bit of a front runner where, like, you hit him back, he loses some confidence, even if you're kind of mid-level.
Yep.
And Jack is solid, man. So
Very.
I'm going with Jack. I'm riding with Badu Jack. That's a Mayweather Promotions fighter that I love. So there you go. I'm not a complete 100% hater.
There had to be
With
one.
Team Mayweather, there had to be somebody, and they've done a good job with them. So good job, Leonard Ellerby, on that. But Tony Lopez, I'm going to say he's 51.
I am the only one going for Garcia versus Usyk.
Okay.
No, a lot of people
No,
are
I don't
picking
think you're the
Garcia.
only one.
Yeah, that's
I'm picking him.
yeah, that's a bandwagon that's filled up.
I like him.
Yeah,
Anyway, Tony Lopez, 55.
55. Okay.
he's older than I thought.
Okay, here's one.
Yeah,
Ivan
he was kinda
Ivan Robinson.
Ivan Robinson.
Robinson. He's one of those guys that never won a title. So it's
And
not
what are
easy
his
winning
two
a title.
biggest fights?
Chavez.
Gotti, Arturo Gotti.
Gotti. Sorry, Gotti.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
Both of them, yeah. Oh boy, those were good fights.
And how old is he?
Ivan Robinson. I'm going to say Ivan Robinson is 45.
Speaking of Chavez, did you see him last night?
Yeah.
Before,
He wasn't even doing his commentary.
He
He'd take
was
his headset off and just
going
yelling.
absolute apeshit.
The whole
He
time.
was jumping around. I thought he was going to.
He's not there to be. He's not there to be impartial, people. He's
Not
there
exactly
to
a
be
homer.
Chavez.
He
You know, I like
was.
that.
I know.
losing
No,
it.
he's into. If a Mexican fighter is behind or is fighting his way back into the fight, he gets into it. But the funny thing is he's got his headset. When he stands up to yell at the fighter, he takes his
No, he
headset
takes-
off.
no, he was-
So I know in a truck somewhere, there's a producer saying,
Yeah.
"This is great stuff. Keep the damn headset on him." But
looks-
he's yelling so loud.
but he looks
he's
good,
getting
doesn't
picked
he?
up.
Oh, he looks great. He was
He's
having
keeping
so
his
much
weight
fun.
down.
I mean, he was. I thought he was going to go jump in the corner and start giving instructions because he was jumping around. I mean, he was losing it. It was.
Here's the thing: Strada needed to start his rally a little bit earlier.
Yep,
A little bit earlier, he could have legitimately won that fight.
But Estrada did give him plenty to jump up and down and get excited for in that last round.
Yeah. Okay, how about Lucien Bute?
Ooh,
How old is Luke? Okay. But no, you didn't give us Ivan Robinson's age.
Oh, yeah.
I said 45.
47.
47?
That's
He's my age. Holy shit.
But he was good, wasn't he?
Really good. Philly fighter. And he was a rival at featherweight in the amateurs. He was a rival to Oscar De La Hoya. They fought 4 times, and I think Oscar beat him all 4 times, but they were very close fights.
Yeah, he was
Really, really
real
close fights.
technician.
Yeah.
We have to have you and Mark Abrams have a contest. Shoot
Mark will
questions.
beat me. I know Mark knows, because Mark really is.
I
sick,
don't know
man.
about that.
Mark,
That would be a battle of titans.
I know Mark will get me on the Philly trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he'll get me on
And
that.
we know Bernie will beat you on everything.
Bernie, he'll beat me on skipping rope.
Yeah.
I hear Bernie does the crossovers and the
does.
doubles and triples.
Has he been training with Brian Valoria?
Yeah.
How about Valoria?
Nobody does that.
The jump roping is something special.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Here's a good question. Best chin, Chuvalo versus Triple G.
Ooh. Interesting.
Don't know how you measure that.
I don't know. Yeah, pound for pound. I mean, but
that's even.
Yeah, but I see Chuvalo fought so many great heavyweight punchers. You know, maybe even stopped. Maybe didn't Foreman stop him, but it chopped him up. I don't know if he was ever out cold.
I think Foreman stopped him. I can't
Yeah,
remember
but
exactly.
I think it was, facial lacerations and that kind of stuff,
Hey, so I'd like to ask.
They're both up there.
I'd like to ask Jim a few questions.
Yeah.
Q&A.
Put me on the spot.
KO tickets.
How did you
Q&A.
get started in boxing, Jim?
It was late 90s. I was involved in like technology companies, and one of our clients was a ticket broker in Los Angeles. And
Who
I
was
ended
that?
up. What's that?
Who was
it was
it?
Box Office Tickets. A guy named Kevin McBride. And so I sold all my shares of the company. Just the whole tech thing, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I didn't find it exciting. And so he called me, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I sold part of the company." He's like, "What are you going to do?" I'm like, "I'm figuring it out." And it was right before the Lewis Holyfield rematch at Thomas and Mack Center in Vegas in '99. And he said, "Well, why don't you come out? We'll do a deal." And I was like, "Sounds like fun." And that was the weekend that changed my life. I had so much fun. It was so exciting. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I got back to Milwaukee, called my landlord, and said, I'm moving to Vegas. And I've been doing, so it's 18 years of selling boxing tickets. So.
Okay, so what's your favorite fighter?
Tommy Hearns as a kid. When I grew up, I was always a Tommy Hearns fan. It was when I was a kid, they did a public workout in '81 before the Sugar Ray fight in northern Michigan. That's where his camp was. So I was there. I would have been like 8 years old, and so we watched a workout. And then he brought a couple people into the ring, like kids from the crowd. I was one of the kids, so I was in the ring doing push-ups with them.
Was that in Bay Cities?
Exactly. No, it was in. Yeah, I believe so. I actually just looked. I just saw something about it because the resort is now in bankruptcy, and it's a big issue up there because of the ski resort, all the golf courses. Yeah. And I was reading about it, and they mentioned that's where Hearns' camp was for the Sugar Ray fight. So, always since then, my father had fought in the Marine Corps, so it was always kind of around. He had a subscription to Ring Magazine, so it was, it's in the house. And then in college, I went to University of New Mexico in Albuquerque, and so that was like the early 90s, the Johnny Tapia era. So I went to all the Tapia fights, and it was just, the excitement at the pit with those fights, it was just something else. Yeah. And like I said, I went out to Vegas for the Lewis Holyfield, and ever since then, I've been lucky enough to be in a great era of the sport.
So what's the best fight you ever saw?
That's a good question. Matisse Provodnikov, as of like recently, like a fight that was just up there as far as, so many of the Pacquiao Marquez. I saw all those. I saw all the Pacquiao Morales fights. Morales Barrera, maybe the second one at MGM I thought was something else.
What about the fights between Israel Vasquez and Rafael Marquez? Were you at the third one at StubHub?
I did not see. I was not there live.
That was crazy.
Yep. There's been so many. I should actually kind of categorize them and have a better answer for that.
Jim, what did you think about Bradley and Provodnikov?
Excellent fight. Excellent fight. And that launched Provodnikov on the run. I was up, and then we went up to Denver for the fight with Mike Alvarado.
Yeah.
That was, you talk about a crowd. That's actually a very good venue there. Yeah. It holds about 5,500 people, packed to the rafters, and I was in the Provodnikov camp. So we were literally, there was like 20 of us for Provodnikov, and the rest were just going crazy for Alvarado, and that was definitely a special night, to say the least.
Oh, I like this comment. Jim is becoming a legend.
Yes.
That makes it sound like I'm old, so no.
He fit that comment beautifully into a gap in the conversation.
So how can we bring back a guy like Mark Ratner? He really made it there, and when he left, it fell apart.
I can't remember. I had a conversation with somebody about that recently, and I'm not sure what his deal is with the UFC selling, what his position was, but I know with Bob Bennett, I don't know him personally, but I'm friends with a lot of promoters. I know it shouldn't be a battle. The fight should come together. The commission shouldn't be like a police force. They should be there to make sure everything runs smoothly, that the fighter's health is protected, that everything goes by plan, but they shouldn't be screwing around. In some ways they do, and I was personally involved in his Ab Judah fight that he canceled, and that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. I worked directly with a hotel down at the D, I worked my butt off. I don't care. It's a 800-person fight. When you sell something out and we pounded the pavement on that, all the fighters are doing consignments, and the day before to cancel the fight over an issue with he might have owed money, you just withhold the purse.
Right.
And they were like, they didn't tell the fighters. I had 2 fighters in my office that day that are chewing rubber bands to make weight, and I'm like, so everybody gets wiped out? Everybody loses that for me, that was just a very unfortunate for everybody else. You got 7 fights on the card. That means 13 other guys didn't do anything wrong and they didn't get paid. Yeah. So I thought that's always been kind of a, in my mind, it was a black eye for the sport in Nevada.
Well, how about all these judges for all these years, the same guys with the bad decisions? They have to do something.
It's the one thing we cannot get right, unfortunately, in the sport, and it's.
Well, when Ratner was there, it was a lot better. I mean, they still had him, but you know that after every card, he would have a meeting with the ref and the judges, and they would review the whole night.
I think they should clean some things up. I know a lot of people don't agree with me. I think if there's a knockdown, it has to be a 10-8 round regardless. There's certain things. I mean, not that that comes in that often, but I think there should be certain ways of looking things. And the unfortunate thing is, and not necessarily the judges are wrong, there's a lot of close rounds.
Yeah.
It's like I think they should give even rounds more often than not. I don't think that a first round where 2 guys are just feeling each other out, why is that round's as important as a 12th round like last night where it's all out action? Why is the first round? Now, granted, last night the first round was action, but I'm saying in general, I think a 10-10 round should be a lot more. Why does one guy
Here's something I'll tell you about Mark Ratner. If you brought to his attention that there was a certain judge turning in crappy-ass cards on a consistent basis, he'd pull that guy from big assignments. He wouldn't allow the commission to put that guy. And I'll tell you one guy, he was an old Nevada judge, been around for years. You probably know the name, Dalby Shirley.
Yep.
And Dalby Shirley, there was a really great, one of the great fights that you mentioned was the first fight between Morales and Barrera at Mandalay Bay.
Yep.
And, I mean, it was a very close fight. Most people thought, myself included, Barrera won that fight. So it wasn't a problem that Shirley had the fight because it was a split decision win for Morales. So it wasn't a problem that Shirley had scored the fight for Morales. But when they looked at his card, I think he gave Morales 6 rounds in a row.
Yep.
And it
wasn't
like that, right? It didn't add up. It was like no. They were trading rounds. They were going back and forth, and just straight through. He gave the round. He gave, Well, I don't know. He had all these rounds in a row for Morales, and I think Steve Kim did a little research. Some people, complaining and made some calls or whatever. So, and this might even be before BoxRec or whatever. But Steve went and found, maybe through Fight Facts, all these really crappy or questionable cards from Shirley, printed them out, and he shared his article with Larry Merchant. And the next time HBO was in town for a fight, Larry Merchant handed it to Mark Ratner and said, "Can you explain this?"
Yep.
Mark kind of read it. Well, I'll read it and whatever. And then they called. He called Shirley in. And the thing is, you didn't see Shirley, at least with choice assignments.
Yep.
And one thing I think has looked really bad on boxing is when a judge has a very poor card or a questionable card, and you see him next week on TV, a televised fight on a big show. It's like, what message does that send out to the public?
It's terrible.
It's bad.
People want, ultimately, it's difficult because it is a judgment sport minus a knockout. But it just sometimes it's like, you got to be kidding.
But we need our best. When the best boxers are facing each other, they need the best people officiating.
Can I go back to a last question?
Yeah.
Of one of the best fights I saw, like excitement-wise, and when Doug said Mandalay Bay, was when Trinidad fought Fernando Vargas. The atmosphere in that hotel, I think that was like the most flags I've ever seen in that building. It was God, what a great fight. That first round was something else. I mean, it was the roar of the crowd. So I've been blessed to see a lot of good fights.
Vargas was at the fight last night.
Yep, he's always around. He's
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got a question to catch up on. A reader made a comment on their great respect for Dave Moretti's scoring last night, and I say that with tongue firmly planted in my cheek.
Was Moretti one of the judges?
I
Isn't Moretti?
I'm thinking And I might be wrong about this, but wasn't he the one who had the main event a draw?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I can't.
I was up
remember.
in the ring. and it
Or
was just
either
too
that, or he
crazy.
was the one that had it
Maybe he had
117,
maybe he
111.
had the
And
nine.
I can't honestly remember.
Let me ask
But
JP.
he's one of those. He's part of the old guard.
Hey, JP, how did Moretti score the fight last night?
Which fight in the main event?
Yeah.
Well, Steve Morrow had the wide card. So
Who
Moretti
had
was.
it 14,
I believe Moretti was the draw.
The draw.
I believe he was
so
the
he
draw,
was the
but he
draw.
was either the draw or the 15-13, both good scores.
Yeah, I don't think that's
But 9-3.
that's too much.
Yeah, because I gave Estrada round 2, and I gave him 12. So that's 2 rounds right there. So he only gave him 1 other round. Now, I didn't look at the scores. I could pull it up on the phone, but someone posted the official scores. I think Mike Baca posted the official scores. So you can look at those, but 9-3, that's rough.
I think you had one draw, one really close, like
Yep.
114, 113, and then there was 117, 111.
Wide, yeah.
I can see that, though. It's all the way you look at the
It's all the way you look at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying I think there should be more 10-10 rounds.
Yeah.
I think it was, what's wrong with a tie round? Because
I know.
Yeah.
I think that
It's
just,
taboo in America.
but I think it's a
You do it in
mistake,
the UK.
especially with the first round where early in the fight where nothing's happening, and that round becomes just as important as the championship rounds.
yeah.
I think a 10-10, I think that would solve a lot of problems.
Like last night, the first round.
Close.
I didn't know who to give it to.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. You don't really know, so you just arbitrarily.
Yeah.
You can say, listen, both guys, nobody won the round,
Yeah.
or make it a 9-9 round, however you want to score it. But I think that would actually make it a lot easier, because what ultimately happens in a lot of the fights is they're very close rounds, but one guy keeps getting the edge on them, and it makes a
It's
close
frowned
fight look
upon
like.
because they're afraid that judges are not going to win and make a choice when there's a close competitive
They'll
round.
call too many.
and they're going to have
rounds.
too many. But here's your solution to that: have good judges.
Exactly.
Somebody turns in a scorecard with 6 even rounds. Guess what, dude?
You're not gonna. Yeah.
You're not doing this.
Yeah, but what
No,
happened
you know
to
what I'm saying?
DeLuca? He used to be so good, and then he got so bad. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, and
He
Don
was-
Trella.
it's Don Trella.
We all
That's a
remember
joke.
Don Trella.
Don Trella.
Did that cost you any money, JP?
Yeah, it did. I mean, it was a refund. Draw's a refund in
Yeah.
Vegas.
A lot of people didn't know that.
Yeah, you lose in UK.
Yep. I know my buddy was in a media room, and there was people, I believe, from Brazil or Argentina, and the guy had a couple like $5,000 tickets, and they're going to throw them away. My buddy's like, "Oh, I'll take them from you as a memento." They're like, "Here you go," and he goes, "No, you can." They're like, "No, it's a loser." Like, "No, it's a push. You get your money back."
Was it on Gennady, the tickets?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah,
who-
Vegas,
who
you
are
get a refund.
Picking in the Triple G.
That's a good question.
Triple G.
All right.
And what do you think's going to happen?
It's going to be, listen, in my opinion, I've followed Canelo since the beginning of his career. I was the first guy ever to buy his tickets in America. I thought Canelo fought the greatest fight of his life, but I thought he lost. I mean, he was
I agree.
he
Totally
was
agree.
so good. He was unbelievable. That upper body movement. I knew he was a great fighter. He's a spectacular fighter. But I thought Gennady won it, and I think he's going to get him a second time, and hopefully the judges agree.
And who do you have? Who do you give the advantage to in the experience from the first fight?
I give it to Gennady.
I mean, in changing.
In changing?
In changing, and they're going to
I
prepare
thi-
differently.
We'll see how Canelo's going to fight it. I mean, I think there's an easier changes that Triple G can do. Throw a body punch. I mean, I know it was like that he kept uppercutting him every time he'd throw a body punch, and just not letting him out of the corner of the ring. Is like he'd get him in the corner of the ring, and Canelo would dip out the back. So, if they can close that up a little bit, hopefully he can get the victory.
See, I think Canelo might have caught Triple G a little bit by surprise.
Yeah, because he didn't fight him like he thought.
But he pulled it off.
Yeah.
And he followed the game plan. And I'm not a Canelo lover, and I think he fought the fight of his life. He fought a great fight. He was disciplined. He kept the game plan going, and he sort of kept Triple G from the body punch in some way. But
It was the uppercut.
I think in the adjustments, I just can't figure who I'm giving the advantage to. But I think I have to give it to Triple G. Because
Because Canelo fought such a different fight than everybody thought.
Right.
It was thought that there was going to be fight in him. I mean, the first round when he was moving backwards the whole time,
Yeah.
I was like, this is going in Gennady's way. This is what we want. And then by the 7th, 8th round, I'm like, this is not is going in Canelo's way in the sense that he was almost controlling the pace based on him backpedaling
So are you picking Triple G by KO or by decision?
by decision.
Yeah. See, the first fight, I was positive that he would knock Canelo out.
I-
And he almost
I
did.
didn't think so. I mean, I thought it was going to be Gennady very, very hard.
Yeah.
Listen, Canelo is such a strong kid. I mean, he is a beast. So
But he learned a lot from that fight, but he
He
also
learns from every fight.
yeah.
oh, he just
He
keeps
learns
getting
from
better.
every fight. I see it. Every
He
fight
keeps, he
shows
keeps
me
getting
something a
better
little more.
and better and better. He's really.
I
good
see
fighter.
this as being a more popular fight than the first one. I mean,
The thing is too that with a lot of casual fans and especially the Brits who come out in droves to the big Vegas fights, that money was chopped in between the McGregor Mayweather stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, we felt that big presence. I've had more calls now for this fight from the UK than anywhere else. The UK fans, I got big people I do business with, like companies, like travel companies. It's not chopped in half anymore. You know, this is all May 5th, so it's going to really be an international flavor more than just, you know, people coming from Mexico and Kazakhstan. There's going to be a lot of Brits there, people from around the world. It's going to be.
so let me ask you this: what do you think about the way Tom Loeffler pulled this off last night? It's like magic.
You scale an arena appropriately, which he always does, and then when you can, and listen, there was not concern, but the small guys have kind of been driven by Chocolatito. Let's be perfectly frank.
Right.
For him to outsell the first Superfly, which was a massive success to start with, it just shows the dedication to the ticket end of the business. You know, I work with a lot of promoters, and the one thing about Tom, which I've always appreciated since I'm in the ticket business, is his dedication to the live gate. I mean, he is focused on it. We talk all the time. It's like the live gate, the live gate. How